Well, hello. Sorry that transition sucked. It was very quick. How you guys doing? It's Sunday, 1:18 p.m. And I kind of knew what I was gonna do. I tried to record this, several times before, but I started losing my temper and going off on tangents and talking about different aspects of the trucking industry. And I figured, screw it, I'll just go live and talk about it. But for anyone just tuning in, my name is Steve, and this is called The Rational American. Today, we're going to be talking about trucking. Last night, we talked about trucking. Today, we're going to as well, because there have been some new announced layoffs where dozens and dozens of truckers are finding themselves unemployed on a holiday weekend. And it just continuously happens. And granted, layoffs are happening all over the country, right? So trucking is not, it's not like an isolated industry that's being affected by this non-recession that we're currently living in. But it's, for one, I mean, trucking is one of the most crucial jobs out there. They literally are the backbone of America. Without trucks, literally your life would stop. You wouldn't have food, you wouldn't have fuel, you wouldn't have water, you wouldn't have healthcare supplies, you wouldn't have any of that stuff. So it's important when these trucking companies start to go under, that you understand that it has much higher implications. So the first trucking company that we're going to talk about is one that the news just kind of broke the other day. This trucking company called MidContinent Trucking, small little operation out of Iowa. They had 38 drivers, maybe a dozen or so mechanics that worked for them, some office staff as well. They have abruptly shut down. And this is weird because a lot of the employees with this company, MidContinent Trucking, kind of knew that this was going to happen, or they kind of knew something else. And it seems that there was some back and forth between the owners that were telling one thing versus what really happened. So according to people that worked for the company, an email was sent around 5:30 p.m. on November 16th, explaining that MidContinent Trucking owners Brian and Ted Wickersham were selling their Denison, Iowa-based company's equipment to another trucking company called Oklahoma City-based Western Flyers Express. Jessica Walker, who worked in the accounting department, said that the office staff were told October 12th, so several months ago, we're told October 12th that the company was going to end up shutting down. However, it didn't happen. A few days later, they were told that the company would be sold instead, with an expectation that all employees would be retained. She said she was even offered a raise, but she kept looking for a new job. She said, when I left on the 15th of November, we were still under the impression that MidContinent was going to be open just under new ownership. Well, apparently that's not what happened. MidContinent sent an email on November 16th, also stating that drivers would be contacted by WFX about potential employment. Other employees, like mechanics at the company's maintenance facility in Council Bluffs, Iowa, received no such assurances. And Tony Cruz, a mechanic at the maintenance facility, said, yeah, we're all out. They didn't need us. They got their own workforce. Speaking about WFX, they have their own mechanics, so they're not going to need these mechanics. So they're all out of a job. Now, one of the truck drivers named Lee Massey provided the company email to this website, non-Perel or something like that. Said he was contacted by a WFX recruiter the week after employees received the email, but he has no plans to sign on with WFX. And he goes on to say that the reasons why he doesn't want to sign on with WFX is because with MidContinent, he had a nice driving job. Like he would be out during the week. He'd be home on the weekends. He was able to spend time with his family. However, when you look at Western Flying Express's website, they tell their drivers, you got to be out for 3 weeks. And for every week you're out, you get 1 day off. So you're essentially out for 3 weeks. You're allowed to go home for 3 days, and then you got to go back out for 3 weeks. According to this driver, that is something that new guys do, and it's not something you're going to find experienced truckers going at. Now, this is kind of interesting. Massey said the rumors had been circulating among employees for about a month prior to the November 16th email that the company was going to be sold, but no one knew any details. Apparently they were told that the company was going to buy everybody up. They were going to buy all the equipment. They were going to, essentially hire the drivers, hire the maintenance, hire the office staff. And that's not what actually happened. Brian Wickerson confirmed the email that MidContinent had agreed to sell its equipment to WFX. The deal is scheduled to close tomorrow on the 28th. Wickersham also stated that the decision to sell was economically motivated. Now, that's where it's very important to understand. We talked about it last night. Freight rates are tanking. Freight rates they've, it's not even that they're tanking. They've been low for a while. And it's going to have a lasting effect on the industry, especially if, and I saw a comment too that said, listen, if you couple these trucking companies that are being forced to lay off employees, and you couple that with the fact that there's a looming rail strike that's currently taking off, that's going to be insane. The only good thing about a rail strike is it could potentially drive rates up, temporarily, because then truckers are going to be needed again. Even though we all need truckers every single day, nobody actually pays attention to just how important truck drivers are until, well, they're needed. I spoke about it last night in terms of when the FMCSA will waive emergency hours of service and all that stuff in the case of a national emergency. But it's kind of crazy, man, when you really think about it. And that's not the only layoff. There was another huge layoff that hasn't got a lot of play either, but we're talking like Twitter size layoff. Remember how big of a story it was when Twitter laid off 2,700 employees? Well, a company called Lane Furniture, they're out of North Carolina. They ended up laying off a crap ton of employees as well. This company is, it was United Furniture Industries is the name of the company, and they do business as Lane Furniture. They've been around for a really long time, right? United Furniture Industries and subsidiary Lane Furniture reportedly terminated all of the company's employees late Monday night. This was last week. According to reporting from local news, UFI sent workers messages around midnight telling them not to come back to work on Tuesday, November 22nd. A separate memo obtained by the outlet said that all workers were immediately terminated except for the company's OTR drivers who were out on delivery. From what I understand, they had about 40, or I could be wrong. I haven't looked it up. I should look it up. You know what? Let me do that real quick. Let me look up their Safer and see how many trucks they have. Because for some reason, I want to say it was only 40, but that could be wrong. Oh, God. I hate Macintoshes. It's so hard to remember what button to press to copy and paste and all that. Yeah, 40 trucks. 42 drivers, 40 trucks under United Fern Industries, which is the trucking company. So anyway, they sent out this email that said basically, at the instruction of the board of directors of United Furniture Industries, Inc., all subsidiaries, we regret to inform you that due to unforeseen business circumstances, the company has been forced to make the difficult decision to terminate the employment of all of its employees effective immediately on November 21st, 2022, with the exception of over-the-road truck drivers that are out on delivery. Your layoff from the company is expected to be permanent, and all benefits will be terminated immediately without the provision of COBRA. So like these employees were really effed, and I don't even know if that's legal. I thought they have to give COBRA benefits to people and carry it over for 2 years. I could be wrong, or what is it, 6 months, something like that, 2 months? I have no idea. The memo told the drivers that they would be paid for the week and gave instructions to return equipment to the company, saying whether or not you have completed your delivery, please immediately return equipment, inventory, and delivery documents for those deliveries that have been completed to one of the following locations. And then they listed their different terminals in Winston-Salem, Verona, Mississippi, Victorville, California. To be clear, do not complete any additional deliveries. Now, this is similar to what we've seen with the layoffs in 2019 in the trucking industry. With those layoffs, the same thing happened, except a lot of the companies turned off fuel cards and stranded the drivers on the road. There's a big one that I broke this story with Freight Broker Live years ago about a CHRW. So they were, CHRW. Maybe that's the wrong one. I think CHRW is CH Robinson. So that's the wrong one. But there was a company, maybe it was CH, I don't remember, or CW. I don't know. It was a big company that handled all of the deliveries for Camping World. So all of the RVs and motorhomes, the trailers, the toter trailers, all that stuff. This company abruptly shut everybody down, fired all their employees, laid them all off, shut off fuel cards. Celadon was a big company. I believe they may have been a publicly traded company. They did the same thing. They just shut down all operations, turned off the fuel cards, and it happened a lot in 2019. And you've got freight forecasters that have been saying this is going to happen now. It's going to happen now. Rates are low. I talked about it yesterday. According to DAT trend lines, rates are not even rates. The rates are low, but load to truck volumes are astronomically lower than what they were last year. You're talking 75% less loads for flatbed freight than what they were in October of 2021. That is a huge reduction in loads. And when that happens and you have a capacity, surge, which is what we have now, we have entirely too many trucks on the road for the amount of freight that's available, which drives the freight rates extremely low. When the freight rates go extremely low, the cost to operate for all these trucks doesn't fluctuate with the amount of rate or with the amount of loads that's out there. So the cost to operate a truck essentially stays the same. The deadhead for drivers is longer because then they're trying to search out the better loads. So instead of deadheading 100 miles, they may deadhead 3 or 4 or 500 miles to get one load that pays enough so they can get their truck insurance, their all their truck notes and everything down. So it's crazy. DC Bindwell said, were they shut down on purpose? I thought there was a driver shortage, or is it a fuel shortage? It's an economy shortage is what it is. Is our economy right now is people aren't going out and spending an exorbitant amount of money on stuff. And because of COVID, all these suppliers and the vendors and the retailers have a huge stock because remember, back we couldn't get crap 2 years ago, right? We couldn't get toilet paper. We couldn't get, different, TVs. We couldn't get any of that stuff in the store because we had the supply chain crisis. China was shut down. That's where a lot of the products come from. They were shut down. We had all the congestion at the ports of Los Angeles and some of the other ports and that was in the beginning of this year. So when everyone bulk ordered at that point because they needed to make sure that that never happened again. They bulk ordered, and now they're sitting on a tremendous amount of surplus, which is making it so there's not a lot of transport, there's not a lot of freight, there's not a lot of product that has to be moved on the road, not as much as there typically is. Which is why you see you see the load to truck volumes in everything from reefer, dry van, and flatbed are way lower. Approximately 40% lower if you look at the average between the three different modes of transportation. Those are huge deals, And again, everyone is more concerned about different things, but they're not concerned about what is actually going to happen. That's and I laugh about it because it's the whole reason why I got involved in talking about the trucking industry back in 2018 and 19 in the first place and doing the shows, because nobody really pays attention to individual truck drivers, whether it's detention rates, whether it's just seeing them. I see all this stuff all the time about like trucker accidents. There was another story I was going to mention later on where there's, truck drivers are getting like all the insurance scams that are happening with truck drivers. And then truck drivers are worrying about the wrong things too. Cause a lot of truck drivers are worried that automated trucks and this and that, that's ever going to actually directly affect them, which it's not going to. It's weird because the trucking industry is so segmented on people that care about, or that pretend like they pretend is a hard word. They care about the trucking industry, but they don't care about it for the same reasons as you should care about it. They care about it from, like, say, a shipper's perspective. They want the trucking industry to be successful so that way they can lower their rates and continue shipping. That's why the big box carriers, the main carriers out there, that's why they're doing okay. Granted, their revenues are down as well. But the reason that's happening is because their cost to operate is much lower. Now with the national diesel price average at whatever it is, $5.50 or whatever it is per gallon, it's hard to make a living. And that's why you see so many, especially if you're in any of the groups on social media, these trucking groups, are just full of people that are like, I just can't do this anymore, which is very eerily similar to what anyone that was, in the industry at that point, we all saw the same conversations happening early in 2019. Right. And then everyone expected, and I'll be honest, I've thought that this was going to happen for a long time. Some of the bigger freight forecasters, the freight media outlets have kind of been talking about it. Some have been way more outspoken, saying, why isn't anyone else freaking out? Because there were so many signs to this happening. And especially when the diesel price goes down, everyone pays attention to what gas price is, right? The Biden administration can lie and say the diesel price average is 303. That's the national average, which is, incorrect when you look at an actual national average. But nobody really talks about the fact that the diesel prices are through the roof. Let's look up what the national diesel price average. I hate this. because the Macintoshes, they also have these tiny little monitors, but it's an excellent streaming computer, which is why I use it. But I complain about it every day, don't I? So regular gasoline prices, this is according to the EIA. Now, the Biden administration will say the national price, using their leading economists, the national price across the United States is like 327. However, the United States Department of Energy is saying the national price is $3.64. Whereas if you look at diesel, the national diesel price right now is at $5.23 per mile. Back when the cost to operate for a mega fleet was $1.87 a mile, and we're talking back in 2019 to early 2020, the diesel price average was much, much lower. It was like 330 or something like that. We are up $1.50 from where we were last year in terms of diesel pricing. And in some places, we're up even more than that. When you look at New England, we're up $2.29 over where we were a year ago. Almost everywhere, diesel prices is continuing to go up, or I mean, it will go down like 8 cents. So, like, for example, the U.S. national average for diesel price went down 8 cents, but we're still sitting at $2.23 per gallon, which is insane. It is absolutely insane. And we're not even talking about California. California is sitting at $6.10 per gallon as an average that you're paying. So include all that with all the other things that are subject to inflation, like driver pay, or driver pay is not subject to inflation. And you talk to any driver, it's not. I saw this article this morning because I use this software called Feedly, which pulls in all these different news articles and things, and then I could choose which one I want to read or talk about or anything. It's kind of like a big newspaper. And there were all these articles that were sent out to all these little things because they're promoting driver pay. And so it talks about the national commercial truck driving driver pay and where it is and what state has the highest and stuff. And you're talking at less than $50,000 is what they're saying commercial over the road truck drivers are making, which is, I mean, that's not correct either. But it's, if you think about it, and maybe that number is correct if you're talking about company drivers, because a company driver doesn't have to worry about paying the fuel. They don't have to worry about doing any of that stuff because their company is. They only have to worry about it. Well, I guess they should watch it. They should care about it because that's a catalyst to figure out if your company is going to be able to make it or not. You know, if your diesel, if you're trying to go and do it and you're getting messages on QuailCom from your dispatcher who's like, hey, take it easy on the fuel, or they start sending out messages saying, hey, instead of using our fuel account at Love's, we want you to hit the mom and pop shops where the diesel price is a bit lower. The problem with that, or what that's telling you, is that they are also now starting to panic a little bit about diesel prices. And that's something that you should worry about too, because if they start worrying about diesel that much, it really is. It's crazy. And especially when they talk about the diesel shortage, right? So, and not a lot of people are talking about that either. Every now and then you hear it mentioned on the news where they say we have maybe 10 days left. We've heard that a lot. We have maybe 10 days worth of supply of diesel fuel. And that's mainly on the East Coast where, and I don't even know if that's factually true or not. I think a lot of times people say that because and a lot of the times the people that are promoting that on the news channels are the ones that own the refineries. They're the ones that want to be able to pump out more. They're the ones that want to raise the prices and things. But unlike what, President Biden says, these little mom and pop gas stations and diesel, and truck stops, they're not dictating what price the fuel is sold at. They're not getting rich off it, as contrary to what he keeps representing. And anybody that actually knows that industry or knows anybody that's ever owned a gas station, they're making a couple of cents per gallon sold. They're not getting rich off of it. You know what I mean? And I saw something from GasBuddy yesterday where they were talking about GasBuddy versus what the Department of Energy says is kind of interesting. GasBuddy actually has raw data, right? So they're getting raw data from all the apps that they use on their cell phones, and then they're getting a national average. They put the national average around 306 for gasoline, with the lowest price, I believe they said, in Houston, at an Exxon in Houston, Texas, that was selling gas for $2.80 a gallon, or $2.30 a gallon, something astronomically low, which I don't understand how they could do that. But GasBuddy, I don't believe, tracks diesel, which is interesting. There used to be this app called FuelBook. I'm not sure if it's still around, but FuelBook kind of did the same thing as GasBuddy without all the the like going into it as much as GasBuddy does, but Fuelbook was a good app. It was run by a guy named Steve as well, and I've met him and I've talked to him. He's a really good dude. Um, but that was a good app that kind of tracked it and would tell the drivers where the lowest place to get fuel, and you could actually use that app and plot where you're going to refill based on you know what I mean. You could stop 100 miles earlier and get fuel because you're actually going to save more money than you would if you travel that 100 miles and get it. Someone said Fuel Buddy's still around. I think, yeah, I think it was called Fuel Buddy or something like that. But that was a good app. It's someone said I got 100 gallons of heating oil, cost me $700 last year. It cost you $300. Yeah, because I mean, heating oil is about the same as diesel. It runs about the same price. That's why you can kind of use them interchangeably if you ever get into a crunch. I think it's illegal to do that, but you can't. Or maybe it's heating oil. Heating oil is a little bit cheaper, but yeah, you hear that on the news too all the time. They're talking about it and the fact that it's getting cold and people are now starting to fill up their tanks and being kind of like being in sticker shock when they get the invoice. And they're like, what the hell? Where's this? Why? Why does it cost so much? And of course, the Biden administration wants to blame Ukraine. They want to blame the war with Russia. They want to blame everything except just poor mismanagement, shutting down the Keystone pipeline, making it so they say, oh, we have all these land leases and everything that's available, and they're not drilling. There's 10,000 active land leases and all these oil fields. They're not drilling. But what they're not telling you is that they're not actually releasing any of the permits. Yes, they've approved land leases, but it's not like you approve a land lease and the next day you're throwing, drills into the ground or whatever the hell they're called. That's not the way it works. You have to do permits and EPA certifications and all that shit. And it could take at fastest, it's like 6 months, but normally it takes multiple years. And if the United States government isn't issuing those permits, isn't fast tracking those, they're not able to drill anymore. And so every time the president says they have all these land leases that they're not utilizing, he's lying to everybody because they're not approving the permits to be able to go and drill. You know what I mean? It's funny. It really is when you think about it, but it's kind of it's kind of crazy. One of the other things that I'm doing too, because if you can't tell like the level of excitement in my voice when I talk about trucking, I really love the industry, right? And the more I think about it, and the more it ticks me off that I kind of got screwed. I went away from talking about trucking every day and kind of focused more on the political side of things, which I think is good too, because now I can bring, obviously, like anyone that's just watching me for the first time today, clearly you could see I have a little bit of a political bias, but hopefully it's not like making it so you're not going to watch the show. Whereas before, if I just talk about politics, that's what ends up happening. But one of the things that I was thinking about today is, truckers don't have a lot of, there's nobody, they don't have a voice. Let's just be honest. Truckers don't have a voice. Sure, you'll see big truckers on TikTok that are making TikTok memes or whatever, or on Facebook or something. And you got some big YouTube truckers, but not too many. Most that are just documenting their lives, because they're company drivers and they have big ass channels. And I don't know why, but I do know why, because it's actually entertaining. I've spent countless hours in the past couple of weeks just watching those channels. But one of the things that I wanted to do is tell you guys about this nonprofit called St. Christopher's Fund, which you guys can find. I believe it's at truckersfund.org. Now, this foundation has been one that's been around in transportation since as long as I can remember, since I've been working. They always kind of step up. They were basically like, if I go over to their website here, and I'll throw it up so you guys could see. If I throw it up and then go to About Us, the history and mission, this mission says exactly what they do. They are a truck driver charity that helps over the road and regional semi-truck drivers and their families when an illness or injury occurring within the last year has caused them to be out of work. That the Christopher Fund is also working to provide programs that will benefit professional truck drivers in the trucking industry. So, oh yeah, this froze and it didn't work. But they've been around for a very long time, right? And a lot of people, they just run such an important, program. Studies have shown that more than 70% of the 3.5 million professional truck drivers in the United States have one or more serious health problems, such as obesity, diabetes, sleep disorders, or cardiovascular disease. Truck drivers are also lack same access to healthcare that most Americans enjoy, which, think about it, that actually came up in the conversation last night. where people were talking about, when a driver gets sick with COVID, when drivers were getting sick with COVID in the middle of the pandemic and still going, they couldn't get resources. They couldn't do anything. You know what I mean? And that's something a lot of people forget about that. So anyway, St. Christopher's Fund was um, started by Dr. John McElliott. He found willing partners in Dave Nemo, host of the Dave Nemo Show, who I'm not a big fan of personally, and his business partner, Michael Burns. Together, they launched Truck Driver Charity to aid professional drivers in need. And the reason I'm talking about this is we released a new product, which you can see on the website here, if I get it to go, a trucker T-shirt bundle. So this is going to be 3 custom T-shirts, which you can see there. Those are the 3 that we're doing, and they're all licensed, images too, by the way, in case anyone has any questions. And then a sticker pack, and obviously we do prizes. If you're tuning in for the first time, we do a shit ton of prizes all the time. So truckers keep the world moving, quite literally. Everything in your home at one point was traveling down the interstate in the back of a truck driven by a trucker. For years, truckers have been underappreciated. Now it's your time to show support for these drivers. We are, with the Rational American, me personally, the Angry Turnip, we are donating $10 from every single bundle that we sell to the St. Christopher's Fund. And so I hope you guys go and do this. The first bundles will be sent out on December 20th. And then each week, this is not going to end. Each week, we will continue sending out bundles. And here's the best part. And this is one of the things that's really cool, because some truck drivers just don't have the extra money. So what you can do, if you want to check out, you can show your support and buy one, or you can donate it. You just choose a size, although that doesn't really matter. You donate it, and then you purchase it. And then we will see that you donated it on our end. And we're going to put a form up either on the website or on our social media channels saying that if any truckers would like this, tell us your size and we'll send it to you for free. Compliments to you because of you guys. So everyone can find this link. Unfortunately, can someone go in and put this link in the chat for me? And we're going to do the same giveaways that we always do. I'll probably do some TV giveaways through this. We're going to do gift cards and all that as well. But if someone could put that link in the chat, or I'll just do it real quick. Because for one, it helps us, and 2, we'll be able to donate a pretty healthy amount, I think, hopefully, as long as people purchase it. I know some people already did. And I am going to make some of the designs. I've already gotten a couple of emails or messages where people were asking if we could take some of the designs and put them on beanies. We will, and we'll put them up for sale as well. But the shirts, if you want those shirts, you have to buy one of the bundles. Fuck me, why isn't this working? Open a browser. But here is the link right there in the chat now. Should be in the chat. I think it's also in the description of this video on YouTube. You could do that. Someone said, how do I get the shirt, the Oreo shirt? I don't care. We don't sell that shirt anymore. But if you want to purchase one of the trucker T-shirt bundles, go do that. Again, you could buy one for yourself. You could buy one for your friends, whatever, or you could donate one as well. And then we will send those out to the drivers. I'm going to put a form on my website, probably either today or tomorrow. And we will start taking names of truck drivers that want a T-shirt bundle but just don't have the $75, or $75 with shipping that bundle costs. And there's going to be a sticker pack inside, so it'll all be all sorts of, and that's going to be completely trucking related. So you're going to get those shirts and all that stuff. So, someone said, what is anyone willing to do for our livelihoods? We're becoming Venezuela. See, I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, that's basically it, man. Today was going to be a really quick one. Like I said, I was trying to record it and I kept getting, you can see how I talk. Like I go too fast, especially when I'm passionate about something. So I just decided that I'd just go live and go that route. I encourage all of you guys to go and buy the T-shirt bundle, the trucker T-shirt bundle. That'll allow us to be able to contribute more out and do more things. And just guys, like, be ready, because I am going to be talking about the trucking industry a lot, probably every day, because I enjoy doing it. And I think there needs to be more people that talk about trucking. Um, the industry as a whole, not just like trucking related stuff, even freight broker related, conversations and things like that, because the trucking industry is comprised of not just truckers and not just fleet owners. It's comprised of the middlemen, the warehousemen, the dock workers, the lumper services. It literally, the supply chain is such a crucial thing to America and to the success of every place, right? Not even America, that I think more people need to talk about it and more people need to fully understand, um, the plight of the industry and the plight of those that are working in the industry, and so that's what I'm going to do. But I appreciate all you guys for, tuning in with this. Go buy a box if you want. I'm also going to make a Patriot t-shirt bundle, because I like those. They're easier to do. And then the first one will always be about 30 days and then we'll keep them in stock. So we'll ship them. So I'm going to do a Patriot bundle as well with t-shirts and stuff that'll be available for sale probably this afternoon at some point. All right, guys, I will see you later. Make sure you check out theangryturnip.com, theangryturnip.com, and like, share, subscribe to this video if you're watching on YouTube. We'll see you tomorrow.